City Hall has long been the home of classical music in Durban and has hosted guest artists from across the world. It has also established a reputation for exploring musical territory far beyond the boundaries of Europe, as was the case when Sandeep Das brought his tablas and his talent to a recent concert. This unusual pairing of a symphony orchestra and classical Indian percussion is a perfect example of the Philharmonic's inclusive approach.
Welcome to Chai with Manju. Our special guest today is one of the most well-known tabla players and composers in the world. His collaboration with Yo-Yo Ma for the Silk Road Ensemble Sing Me Home won the Grammy Award for the Best World Music Album at the recent Grammy event. Let us meet Sandeep Das. So welcome.
Hello.
Thank you so much for coming to the show.
My pleasure.
Now, we know you've been nominated twice with the ensemble and this was the win. So what was that winning moment like?
You know, winning is always fun. But as an artist, you don't create work to win a trophy.
Absolutely.
And I feel very fortunate and very lucky that I am part of a great team. So it's a victory for the team. And I'm just lucky to be a member of it.
And how did you celebrate?
You know, it's very funny. As a person, I don't get too elated or too sad. So it's, I think my friends and family have celebrated it more. For me, I'm already thinking about the next concert and the next piece. So yeah, it's kind of fun, but not going overboard.
As a community, we are very proud of you.
Thank you so much. I'm grateful.
So this show is about your life. So let's start from the beginning. Your family is from Bengal, but you moved to Bihar, right? So tell us about your early years.
So yeah, my father K.N. Das, he's from Chandanagar in Bengal, and my mother Arati Das was from a small city on the border of Bengal and Bihar. I was born actually in a small city called Dhanbad.
Okay.
But early childhood, I don't remember anything about Dhanbad. We moved to Patna. So that's where I would say I spent my early childhood.
And you started learning tabla at the age of 8, right? From Pandit Shiv Kumar Singh.
Yes, that's a very interesting story for, I think, parents as well as little children. It was a complaint that my father got from a teacher of my school, St. Xavier's High School, saying that I have been disturbing the class by either tapping on the desk or tapping with my feet.
Show us how you were tapping.
Probably I would be doing this, you know.
Okay.
I have little kids now learning from me, and probably they do the same. But instead of taking me to a doctor when I got back home, my father had my first pair of tabla on the living room table. And he pointed to that and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That's yours. And your lessons start today."
Wow.
So I'm very fortunate that he had the vision of putting my tapping into some productive and positive.
Channelizing
yes,
it as well.
Absolutely.
Now, was he a musician as well?
As most Bengalis are,
Absolutely.
he was a lover of music. He used to sing as a member of a group called IPTA in his college days with Manna Day.
Yes,
But my earliest childhood is about going to concerts. So I had musicians visit our house, staying with my father, our family. And yeah, so that bent of music definitely inspired him to push me in that direction.
Okay. And then when you were 11,
Yes.
I believe you started learning from the big legend himself,
Yes.
Pandit Kishan Maharaj.
That again, you know, so I started from Pandit Shiv Kumar ji and I won my first all Bihar Tabla competition, and that's when they both felt that I should go to someone bigger. And my father fortunately always felt that when it comes to education, we Indians are very, very strict. We start with AIMS or IIT or Harvard, but when it comes to the arts, it's always an uncle or auntie next doors. My father was opposed to that. He said if he has to be good, he has to go to, say, the MIT or the Harvard of tabla playing. And he was a fan.
Absolutely.
He was a fan of my Guruji, so there was no other option. He somehow found a connection, and I started traveling.
So in the beginning, it was mostly weekends and holidays.
It was very difficult.
Right?
I was an 8-year-old kid. Every Saturday we used to have a weekly test in my school, and my food and clothes would be sent to my school, off from school into the car to the station, 10-12 hour train ride, reach Banaras Saturday evenings learning. Sunday mornings I would learn and take the train back Sunday night. Off to school on Monday. No matter what, what weather, what the occasion, every weekend was there.
Probably it gave you the discipline that you needed later on, as a musician. And
Everything
you have
has
to
helped.
practice,
Everything has helped.
Hours
I
and
remember
hours,
sitting in unreserved compartments as an 8-9-year-old on the upper berth of a 3-tier compartment, just crammed up like this, and whatever little food I had and water I had. Trains used to have their chains pulled, so a journey that should take you 8 hours would take 22. But that toughened me. I've traveled the world and I can play whether I have slept or eaten or not. So definitely it trained me in a very good way.
And then you moved in with your Guruji when you were 11 years old with the typical Guru.
Guru Shishya Parampara.
And how was that like at such a young age to be away from the family and then move in like that and live with somebody else? How was that?
When I look back, I'm very thankful.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great at that time. It was very difficult. My friends would go for holidays to Shimla and Mussoorie. And there I was in a Shaolin camp with one of the strictest persons on this planet. But now I go to Switzerland while they are working. So, I don't have to get up every morning and go to work.
Yes.
I can still play 5 concerts a month, wear nice clothes, have good perfume, and thankfully make enough money that most people working really hard don't.
Yeah.
And the biggest joy is I spread happiness.
Yes,
So even if I'm
true.
playing in Azerbaijan or Syria, Aleppo, I've always gotten love from people. So it was tough. It's tough. Who wants to be playing 8 to 10 hours a day as a 9-10-year-old kid with a strict guru who doesn't have any mercy? So at that time, there were times when I hated my guru. I'll be honest. I hated my parents.
I heard about a broken finger story or your finger was injured.
There was zero mercy. I had a bandage around my finger one day and he came up and he said, "Why aren't you practicing?" So I thought if I show him the finger, he'll have some sympathy. He said, "Where's your tabla?" So I showed him my tabla and he kept looking at it for almost 4 or 5 minutes and then he said, "Where is the blood?" Unless the head is soaked in blood that you can't play, don't ever come back to me.
Oh my goodness.
But again, thanks to that, when I'm on stage, nothing stops me. And that's why, though I don't come from a family of musicians or a generation, I cannot say I'm the 7th in line. I come from a very average middle class family, yet I can very proudly say that it's all because of my Guruji's hard training.
And I think for all his strictness, I think he was very impressed with you. You were only 13 when you had your
Ganda Bandhan. He's told my father that he has tabla in his blood and he actually wanted me to quit studying, quit going to school. He even actually told my father one day, it's like, do you want him to be like you, working 30 days a month and bringing back a dry salary? Or you want him to be like me, and one concert I make more than your month's salary?
My goodness.
Yeah, but my father thankfully said that, very humbly, he said, "Guruji, that tells me how difficult it is to be like you. Whereas an engineer like me can be produced in the thousands. So please let him study. In case he doesn't make it, at least he'll have something to fall back on."
I think when your passion becomes your work, then the world is yours.
I'm very grateful. I remember sitting in my balcony. We have an apartment in Delhi, and it hit me suddenly that I was having a cup of tea reading a newspaper, whereas everybody else was just running around on the street. And I thank both my father and my guru again that day.
And a 16-year-old like you got to perform first concert with Pandit Ravi Shankar. What can be bigger than that? Do you have any recollection?
It was the scariest moment of my life because that was a concert that we were all looking forward to. For like months it was sold out and I was also looking forward, and like as we were about to leave, he said, "Jao mera tabla gaadi mein rakho," which like, go put my tabla in the car and yours too. So when he said yours too, my heart, I missed the first beat. And then as I'm picking up my tabla, I'm thinking, maybe he needs a spare. But then my brain is saying that he has 20 other pairs, which is way nicer than mine. Why does he need mine? So yet I was telling myself, like, maybe he needs mine. As I put them in the car, he turned towards me and he said, go wear a nicer kurta.
Ah, okay.
So my heart started beating, even loudly. We sat in the car, started driving towards the venue, and he turned towards me and he said, "Aaj tu bhi baja raha hai.
क्या बात.
You're also playing today." And with that, I was like, I was ready to die. Then I thought that, okay, he'll give me a tip. Do this, don't do that, don't play this, nothing. As we are about to get off from the car at the venue, he looked at me and he said, "If I see fear in your eyes," he pointed towards his shoes. And he said, "If I see fear in your eyes, this is what will come flying at you." And he said, "From now on, my son, when you are on stage, it doesn't matter who you are with, there shouldn't be any fear." That was the only tip.
And you can always perform at the last minute, right?
My first 7 or 8 concerts with the biggest maestros of Indian classical music were always when I was least prepared.
Okay.
Which I hated them. I thought this has to be the craziest guru on the planet.
Right.
But I thank him. He took the fear out of fear. I'm ready to play a solo or with anyone at Carnegie right now.
Okay. Now, many people don't know that, but you were actually a gold medalist in English literature from Banaras Hindu University. And yet you took such a bold step, as we were talking, of making music your career. Now, what was that? Was it a difficult choice at that young age?
It was, because I was a good
Hindsight, it
student.
sounds good,
I
but-
even qualified for management at the Tata Institute.
Wow.
And the whole deal about the institute is that you go with your luggage, and as you pass the exams, the written, the objective, the interview, the classes start.
Wow.
So you start classes the day the result is announced, or you have to quit.
Wow.
So I actually called my father and said, "I just came to see Bombay, and I got through in this test. What should I do?" And he said, "Well, I have guided you so far, my son. Now the time has come for you to decide what you wanted to do." And he kept the phone. So I called him back. I said, "Daddy, give me some hints." He says, What will make you more happy? Being a top CEO of a company or being a musician?" And Pat came my reply. I was like, "Of course, music." He said, "Then just go, follow your heart. What are you worried about?" I said, on one hand, if I pass from the Tata Institute, jobs will be waiting for me. Music has no given path. So it's insecure. And I think he gave me one of the most important lessons of my life. He said, "My son, anything in life is made secure or insecure by you, by what you do with that, but very few people have the choice of following their heart. Go ahead."
That's such a special dad.
Amazing.
Especially so ahead of his time.
Yes. I am unfortunately, I lost him very early, but he saw a concert of mine and he said, "You're all set, I can die peacefully now." And he passed away within a month. So I miss him a lot every day of my life. But yeah, so I packed my bags from BHU and I decided I'll go to Delhi and try music only for a year. Otherwise I'll give it up completely. And fall back on academics. But that's when I met Shubha Didi, Shubha Mudgal.
Okay.
And my new journey started in India.
She was one of the first people to tweet about your Grammy.
She loves me. And she is my favorite Didi.
Yes.
She's my kids' bua. Like even if I'm not there, she just spends time with them. Like for both my kids, my daughters, she gave the chudi that her grandma. So like she's like
Your
part
family.
of my family, and
You have to
we
bring her to
started.
Boston.
She should. Yeah, Learn Quest should do something about it.
And tell us about how did you move to United States and of course Boston. What brought that about?
So my first trip to the US was 1990. So I've been playing here since then. But it's only about 5 years back. I was actually walking with Yo-Yo Ma. We had played a big concert, 65,000 people at the Chicago Millennium Park. And as I was walking with him, I suddenly asked myself about what do I want to do next? As you already said, I was very fortunate. I had started playing with the biggest maestros very early in life. By the time I was in my 20s, I had played every festival. So Indian classical music wise, I had hit a ceiling. There was nothing new for me. I have like 30, 40 albums, played in every festival with every maestro possible. Yet I had started playing with the biggest orchestras. So I was thinking, how to go beyond just being an Indian tabla player, playing Indian classical music. At the same time, I had started teaching a summer institute here at Harvard, and I had started spending time in Boston. And I was starting to fall in love with this city, because it has everything that a big city has to offer.
Right.
Yet, I'm surrounded by woods. We have 3 lakes that I can go for a walk.
Yes.
And I can drive up to the downtown in 10 minutes.
And now we have been rated #1 city in United States, right?
Yes. So, and I have 2 girls, so I also wanted to give them a different perspective in life.
Yes.
So it was a combination of music. Yo-Yo Ma, I would say, is the nicest human being that I've met in my life. I rate him even higher than my own guru.
Wow.
As far as a human being is concerned, 18 years of knowing him, I've learned a lot. Learned a lot about being a nice, loving, caring person first, very secure, not insecure.
That's the most important thing. Sometimes
Yes.
I see a lot of creative people are actually insecure.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
more so in our own Indian classical music scene,
absolutely,
and that's something that I've learned from Yo-Yo. So, combination of all that, and my wife, who's the boss,
Of
demand that we will only go to a place where my daughters get good schooling.
education, right.
So we ended up in Boston, and 4 years now, I'm very happy.
It's been lucky for you.
Very good. God's been very kind.
Right. Now you've worked, as you mentioned, with some of the best musicians, both Indian classical and Western. Now, what are some of the differences that when you play? What are some of the differences in playing with them?
So the first time I walked in to play with the New York Philharmonic at Lincoln Center, we had 4 world premiere concerts.
Okay.
This woman walks up to me and puts a metal something in front of me. There's a man who puts a metal something, and I look at that and I said, "What is that?" And he said, "That's a music stand." And this woman comes up and puts a piece of paper, and I look at that, I'm like, "What is that?" And she says, "That's your music." And I said, "I can't read music." So there was pin drop silence that they have flown this tabla player from India for 4 world premiere concerts, sold out, Lincoln Center, who can't read music. I raised my hands and I said, "Well, if you guys rehearse it once, I will get it." And again, there was this silence of disbelief. It's like, "Oh, really? We have rehearsed it for 2 days and you can memorize a piece of 28 minutes in like a one rehearsal?" And that's when Yo-Yo Ma stood up and looked at the orchestra and he said, "You know what? Why don't we do it? These Indian musicians do crazy things." Why I'm telling you this story is that's how different these 2 worlds are.
Yes. Yes.
Here I am now playing with the biggest orchestras, music written for me that I can still read. So it's a different world, but at the same time, we are still looking at the same thing. So we don't have rehearsals in Indian classical music.
Right.
You are good or bad, that you can pull out your tabla and in a moment's notice you can get up on stage and play.
Absolutely.
Whereas here, you rehearse.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean one is better than the other. By rehearsing, 100 violins sound like one. 100 cellos sound like one. Put 5 sitar players together,
Totally different.
they cannot play
Absolutely.
together. So it's a different
it's a
feel.
different-
Same thing, Indian classical music is more about improvising, about creating something on stage.
Right.
Whereas most of the Western classical world is notated.
Yes.
Yet Yo-Yo said a very nice thing. He said it's like a GPS. You put address A to B, but then you don't drive looking at the GPS. Someone drives fast, someone makes a curve very fast. So there is improvisation in a different way. What I am enjoying the most is I was a very proud Indian classical musician, very proud about my culture and heritage, but after meeting the musicians from the West, I realized that nothing that I felt was only mine is actually only mine. It's a shared heritage.
That is so true.
Nothing grows in isolation. So though we believe this is mine, that is yours, the sooner we open our hearts and ears and minds, we'll see that actually all music, all cultures, all traditions are similar and we have all learned from one another.
And it's a universal language.
Absolutely.
Truly a universal
Absolutely.
language of love.
So there are differences on the outset, but in the bottom, ultimately, if you see me playing with Yo-Yo, we will see 2 kids on stage that are having a terrific time. And if I'm playing with, say, Ustad Amzuli Khan Sahab, whom you heard me playing with last year, everybody at the festival came and said, "Your tabla sounded different." Because I'm having fun. So my bottom line, as you'll see outside my door, nothing without happiness, nothing without fun.
That is so true.
Yes.
That is so true. And it's interesting what you said, because I have interviewed quite a few musicians and I asked them, "Do you prepare?" And they said, नहीं बस वहाँ बैठ के ऑडियंस का मूड देख के हम कई बार डिसाइड करते हैं क्या
Absolutely.
बजाना है. I was
Absolutely.
wondering, what about the tabla player? You know, like I've always wondered about that. So that was a very
I was warned by my
interesting-
guru once
Uh-huh.
that if he ever hears me practice before a concert, he's going to break my hands. So ever since,
Very strict gurus we have and very
Yes.
threatening always,
But
right? I
I'm
hear so
grateful.
many stories.
Everything he taught me is like a diamond in my pocket today
Right.
that I show to the world and do what I do. So I never practice. I actually keep myself starving. I'm hungry that every note I play on stage, I'm dying to play it first.
Yes.
Everything I play surprises me, and that's the wow moment.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, talking about teaching, of course, you formalized your tabla school recently, and I had the privilege of watching you teach some of the kids, and the sheer joy and the happiness and laughter was really touched my heart. So I think your style is kind of different from your Guruji, right? So
Well, yes, yeah, but I can't remember when we laughed with my Guruji or when he appreciated me.
So what did you do for fun all those 12 years or so?
Fun for us at that time was a smile on his face,
Really?
or his saying, my pet name is Mithu. He would tell Guru Ma, "Aaj Mithu mere saath khayega." That was the reward. Like we were upgraded to eat with him.
To dine with
Yeah,
him.
the first time he appreciated me was years after I had already established myself as a successful musician at Herbal Love Sangeet Samaroh in Jalandhar. After the concert, when I like played my opening piece, he was sitting like this and he went like, and I would barely look at him because we were always worried. And when I went and touched his feet, he touched my head and he said, "Shabash, tu to acha bajane laga."
Kya baat hai?
So that was the biggest compliment. I have learned to approach my children, like my students, differently.
Yes.
It's a different time. It's a different
I
era.
don't think our kids would last under those strict, having said
But you
that,
know,
we
the
do
ones who
respect.
last are the ones who will play.
That is true.
So
That
I'm
part, yeah.
equally strict with them. You know, I don't teach them anything unless they earn it. I make it very clear to the mothers, to the fathers who bring them or adults. But I approach it differently. I approach it in a more fun way. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3, go. Now let's play the dhar tir tak dhir dhir tak. Okay? You can wait. You can watch. 1, 2, 3, go.
That the joy and the peace and the harmony is also reflected in even the name that you have picked for your non-profit called Harmony and Universality through Music. So
Yes.
share with our viewers something about that. How can they be a part of your non-profit?
Yeah, I started it about 5 years now because I felt that just being, Yo-Yo questions himself all the time. Does the world need another cellist? And that's why he's involved in so many other work. And I suddenly felt that that's such a powerful question. Does the world need another tabla player? No. There are many other tabla players. How can I contribute? And that's when I started this organization. Hum means we. So the power of we. I have been very fortunate that I was able to find 2 visually impaired children. One is a 7-year-old kid, no longer 7, he's probably now 13 or 14. And if I'm able to bring him to the US with some sponsorship, he should be the first superstar visually impaired tabla player of this world, I'm telling you.
Let's work on that.
Let's do it. Let's make it happen. So from 2, we have now 6 visually impaired children.
It's wonderful.
And I probably am very proud, very selfishly proud, have the only organization that has a national scholarship where we not only fund their learning, we fund their travel, we even give them a stipend.
It's so wonderful.
And solely run from our pockets, few friends. it's only fortunately 3 years now that we have a German company, not an Indian company. It's a very painful story.
Yeah.
It's a German company which has sponsored our scholarship for 5 years called Lanxess, and we are running this scholarship.
Well, we have a lot of people who watch this show, so hopefully
Let's see.
we'll have
Let's
some
see.
good news. So now shifting gears, of course, we know your wife Tripti, and you have 2 daughters. Sakshi was a good Odissi dancer, and of course I met Sonakshi today who plays tabla. Tell us a little bit about your family and how you met your wife.
It's a fun story actually. We met in 9th grade.
Oh my goodness! Do you sense a love story there?
It's like a Bollywood. It was almost like a Bollywood story.
Before you moved to Banaras.
We met in NCC, and we both paraded down the Republic, paraded down the Rajpath.
Ah,
She was Junior Division Best Cadet Army. I was Junior Division Best Cadet Air Force, Air Wing. And at that time, all I wanted to do was become an Air Force pilot. And I was her commanding officer. But now you know who the commanding officer is.
Yes, absolutely.
And
You sign your rights away when you get married.
so yeah, we got married about 22 years back, and I wanted girls all my life.
That's so
very, very biased because we grew up 4 monkeys in the same house. I pity my mother. So we were 4 brothers. We are 4 brothers, and I am the youngest. So I always wanted girls, and I got 2, Sakshi and Sonakshi. Sakshi is a very nice girl, learned Odissi in Delhi and from Madhvi Mudgalji's student, and here she's learning from Oli Pal, local Boston guru.
Wonderful Upasana.
Yes,
Right.
and Sonakshi is a good golfer. Actually, she's been learning golf.
Oh my goodness, like you.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about golf. So she's a good golfer, has won every tournament that she's played in the US.
Wow.
Tabla I only started about a year now because suddenly she used to learn singing from Shubha Didi. But she used to get more spoilt by her than learn singing because Bua would only cuddle her, hold her and say, Isko de do, just leave her here. So she has a good voice, but once we moved here we couldn't continue. So I started teaching her tabla. But she has 0 focus, so I don't know.
She at that age.
I don't know, but yeah, they are good children. I'm very lucky. Yeah.
Okay. That brings me to the fun part, which we call a rapid response.
Okay.
So whatever comes to your mind and whatever you think first.
Okay.
So what's your favorite place to perform?
Oh, that's a tough call.
Yes.
That's a tough call. There are so many favorite places, but one place that sticks out is a cathedral in Zurich that I played. I was playing with Shujat Khan, sitar player, and I think I had my first out-of-body experience that it was so perfect, everything, that I wasn't on stage for probably a few seconds, and I came back, nobody missed me. And so I would say incident-wise and place-wise, I still rate that as a unique experience, yeah.
That's beautiful. And how do you get ready for the show? Just before you go on stage, how do you get ready?
Actually, you know what? I don't think about the concert ever.
Okay.
I want to joke, I want to laugh, I just want to be... It's tough actually, people have to make me behave and get me to be serious. But left to me, I want to be just happy,
Just
not
yourself.
think about... Yes.
Do you have any favorite rag?
I love jog. Jog's my favorite rag. Yeah.
Okay. Any favorite hobbies?
Golf. Left to me, I would love dying playing golf.
Okay.
Yes. And if my father hadn't pushed me to tabla, and if I had known about golf, I think you would be interviewing a golfer.
Good, you got it.
I find them very similar. Yeah.
Your favorite movie?
Favorite movie? I don't watch that many, but Hindi movie Sholay.
Sholay?
Because Basanti still remains my favorite. I've met her many times after, but yeah.
Do you have any Bollywood ambitions?
Not really. I have known people from that industry very, very closely. But
Any music director you'd like to work with?
I love A.R. Rahman's work, in the younger generation. Even before Roja, when I heard his South Indian composition, when nobody in the North, most people didn't know, I heard it and I said, oh my God, this man will definitely be very successful. So yeah, he is someone that I would love to. Yeah.
And what's your next project?
I have recently written a piece called Ashoka, King Ashoka, commissioned by the Harvard School of is it Divinity School? I'm forgetting the name, and Silk Road. So I'm premiering it on the 25th of March with Yo-Yo-Ma, at Sanders Theatre.
Exciting.
We have premiered it in Asia in 7 countries, but Ashoka, based on my experience of growing up in Patliputra, Patna, it's a very, very nice piece.
Looking forward to that.
Yes.
So we wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so
It's a
much.
pleasure.